New introduction here. I want to get everybody's attention for what I feel will be a lucrative opportunity. It's the first ever NYSE marijuana IPO. We're making history here, and I feel this is just the first stepping stone in what is going to be the start of many IPOs on both the NASDAQ and the NYSE. I feel we're going to have a marijuana sector and marijuana ETFs in the future, and this is just step number one. If you are familiar with the industry, that's all I have to say. I know you're interested already. If this is new to you, this is going to be, in my opinion, the greatest financial opportunity in our lifetimes. This has never happened before. We have an established tens of billions dollar industry that the floodgates are going to open. It's becoming more and more legitimate legally, and this is just step number one. So Innovative Industrial Properties is the company. The ticker is IIPR. It is a real estate REIT that invests in medical marijuana facilities. And for this IPO, we have a new website, www.mjipo.com. I put together an hour of research video going through the filings, researching the company and the executives, and establishing a game plan, looking at some other IPOs and how they have traded. We're going to have a chat room with live Q&A during that day, Tuesday, November 22nd. And we'll also have the live webcam where I'll be showing our charts, going over, pointing out key support and resistance levels, looking at the volume that's coming in. I'm really looking forward to this opportunity. I hope you will join us. Thanks for tuning in. Let's get into the charts. Hey everyone, checking in on the rest of the FANG stocks. Already did a Facebook video for itself. So let's look at Amazon, Netflix, and Google. And then we'll look on the hourly time frame because there's some key moving averages on the hourly to be watching. So all of these names dumped with the tech sector on Thursday. It was a very big dump, and we're seeing slight recovery, but not much. This is still a very weak sector. We look at the sectors, the biotech and the banking sector exploding, and it's looking like a sector rotation with money coming out of techs and going into those two. So looking at Amazon, here's the dump. We've seen a very clear lower high and lower low pattern, and this bear volume, you cannot ignore that for the downside action that we've seen. We did see a bit of a lower wick on Thursday, with bulls buying the dip off of 717.70 support, and an inside candlestick formed on Friday, tightening range. We'll use this inside candlestick on Monday, a break of 743.26, and we know to be looking bullish, and a break of the low of the day, 728.90, we know to be looking bearish. You can see we're pretty much trading along this lower Bollinger Band support the past 2 days. That's going to continue dropping. We are not oversold yet on the RSI, and we look at the weekly time frame, and what stands out, the past 3 weeks of very high bear volume. As soon as we lost this 10-week support, that was the go signal for the bears. It has been support, or had been support, for the past 7 months, bouncing off of it multiple times. So once that level is lost, the bear volume really picked up, and we lost the higher low pattern that had been so clear since February. So a change in the trend. It's not a change in the long-term trend. I'm looking down here at 682.12. If we were to break that level, then it's a lot more significant of a bearish break looking at the multiple year trend. But as of right now, we did see a little bit of a lower wick, but we also saw an upper wick. And look at how we held that 10-week support that I just pointed out for 7 months. Now we are back testing and rejecting from it 2 months in a row as it has gone from strong support to now strong resistance. That is the level to be watching as it begins to descend. That's going to be some tough resistance going forward. Netflix, a very similar dump and even weaker. So we were highlighting Netflix leading into Thursday because of this tight pattern. We had a very clear converging moving average support and moving average resistance, the middle Bollinger Band and the 10-day moving average. We can see Wednesday's range pretty much was defined perfectly from those levels. As soon as we broke that low from Wednesday on Thursday, that was a very bearish indication. We had a lot of members playing bearish on Thursday, and that is because the lack of support. We're now filling the gap. Once we broke 116.50, I don't see any clear support until 106.79, 106.97, I should say, previous resistance. That should act as support. So we're in no man's land for support in this area, and that's why we're seeing so much weakness. It was one of the names with the weakest bounce on Thursday, very little lower wick, and on Friday, it's an indecision doji. It does favor the bulls because it's coming after a pullback, but we did see another lower high and lower low. A lot of those tech names had a higher low, like Amazon, and a consolidating range, but Netflix leaning bearish due to that lower high and lower low and the lack of support here. Weekly time frame for Netflix, still consolidating after a breakout, and we can see the trend since February, very clearly still favors the bulls. We could pull all the way back down to 105 and it would still be forming very clear higher lows. So not a huge concern, but we do see this lower high pattern still in play. 133.27, couldn't break that level. We got to 129.29, so it's just another lower high. Let's zoom out here and look at the past 2 years of action. So we had the all-time high and we formed a lower high compared to that level, and now we're consolidating. And what stands out on that consolidation, the first 2 weeks looks like normal, bullish, healthy consolidation, low bear volume. That has changed now with a big spike in bear volume and this significant dump we've been seeing. So we'll watch the 10-week support. We're watching the gap to fill. There's a gap down here at 173. Doesn't mean we're heading to that level, but just the lack of support here is what has Netflix standing out as a bear. Google also dump on Thursday and also a lower high and lower low on Friday. So we have the low of support from 2 weeks ago. That was 750.56. We did bounce just from that level. We broke it by a few pennies, but still holding it. And we look at these other names. We have Netflix, the low of last week. We are well below that, or I should say 2 weeks ago at this point. And Amazon 2 weeks ago, we're well below that as well. So Google is still clinging on to the support level down at 750.56. And we see that on the weekly time frame where we didn't clearly break that 750 psychological level. So we are seeing high bear volume, a bearish MACD cross, and we're pulling back a little bit. But we do still have the long-term uptrend on the weekly very much intact. And for Google, it would require a break of 663 for this uptrend to be in question. And we are very well above that level at this point. So let's look at these individual names and their hourly charts, because that has given us some nice indication on who is weak and who is strong on these bounce attempts. So let's look at the hourly for Amazon first. It's all about the 20-period moving average. And we saw that with Apple, and Apple got over its 20-period and saw strength on Friday. So Amazon, a short-term bounce from the dump on Thursday, trying to get over that 20-period, rejected first thing Friday, rejected again, and then end of the day Friday, we turned it into support and held that into the close. This 20-period hourly support must hold on Monday for the bulls to see short-term upside favoring a bit of an oversold bounce. We can see this oversold bounce is underway. Hourly RSI got to 20, and it's now cooling off to the upside. But this 20-period hourly is going to be very important. Let's look at Netflix now. Netflix rejected from this 20-period hourly. First 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 candlesticks of Friday, and then at the end of the day, we closed right under it. So this was still resistance. There's a difference between Amazon and Netflix right there on the hourly time frame, but it's also going to be a big factor on Monday as well, whether we are trading above this 20 period as support or below it as resistance. Checking in on Google, didn't even touch that 20 period. So very clearly, the bulls still have a lot of work to do, and if Netflix and Amazon get above this resistance level Monday and Google does not, they're going to be standing out as more short-term bullish plays than Google will be. And if Google rejects from this level and breaks 750, we should see another leg to the downside in the short term. So that's what we're looking at for these FANG stocks. Certainly weak, watching to see how much of an oversold bounce we get, and the trend favors the bears on the daily time frame with lower highs and lower lows. So we'll keep an eye on all these names. I appreciate you watching. Hope you have a great rest of your weekend.